Welcome to Between the Shelves, the premier Sayville Library podcast. I am your host, Alex, and this week I'm joined by my co-host, Tory.
Hello.
And Kristina from Adult Services. Welcome.
Hello.
This week, it is May, so we're celebrating AniMay again. And this year, instead of doing just a broad sweep of all things anime, we're going to focus on one subgenre of anime dubbed Magic Girls.
Magical
right?
Girls.
Magical Girls.
Magical Girls.
And we peer pressured Alex into letting us do this topic.
Thank you for admitting that right off of the gate. So, Tory and Kristina, you are our magical girls at the library here.
Wow.
We'll get to by the end of the episode, you can determine if that's a compliment or not. What are magical girls? What is the genre of magical girls?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. At its
moving
basis.
I have quite a few definitions.
You do?
Yeah.
Hit us with them.
So the first one is where a prepubescent girl acquires magical powers somehow and uses that power to save and protect the people around her.
Yeah.
It's pretty broad, yeah. I agree with that.
So it can fit a lot of things. You said you have more than one definition?
I do. I have a kind of a joke one. So I read this paper by a researcher, and she said, it's best to consider Japanese magical girl anime as a 25-minute advertisement for toy merchandise, which is very accurate as well.
Coming off of our Star Wars episode, that's perfect for us.
Yeah. And then the demographic is usually also prepubescent girls.
But couldn't you argue that almost anything that's aimed towards children is actually an advertisement for toys? Like any anime or any TV show?
I think legally it's not supposed to be after everything that happened in the 1980s, but yeah.
Blame the magical girls.
Everything that happened in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Okay,
there are laws about how much advertising you can do towards children.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
You should read the book, The He-Man Effect by Box Brown.
I think that's been recommended to me before, maybe by you, certainly also by Tim, so
I recommended it to Tim also.
Okay, there you go.
It's been on my to-reads list, but it sounds like it's worth checking out.
I'm not a He-Man fan, but if it's like a broader to 80s in general,
yeah,
I think
it covers basically all of the toy, starting with Star Wars, the original, and the toys from that, and going really through the modern day era of children's toys.
Awesome.
But yeah, magical girls have definitely been guilty of just being disguised marketing for cool junk that kids want.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes adults want too.
Sometimes adults continue to want.
So what are some of the hallmarks of the magical girl genre?
So I have a nifty list of tropes and that I could share that not every show has to have all of these things, but these are just some of the more common things that you'll find mixing and matching throughout the shows. So the main one is girls. I have girls because usually the main characters are a preteen or a teenage girl, and through some sort of convoluted explanation and plot contrivance, they are the only people who can save the world or battle evil or whatever the task at hand is. But usually, not always, they are girls. This one, I stole the name from the TV Tropes website because they say it best. Clark Kenting. Usually, even though they look physically exactly the same in and out of their magical girl getups, no one ever recognizes who they are. They can become pretty famous for fighting crime. Sometimes they'll be on the news or get posted online, or they'll rescue people who will see them up close and personal, and frequently they don't wear masks as part of their costumes.
I have a note that says transformation is more of a makeover.
Sometimes there will be more significant changes, but you could recognize them. But their friends and family will not notice. They just never notice. Guardian animals. Frequently the girls will meet or obtain some kind of animal or creature who will unleash their power and allow them to become a magical girl. And they're kind of similar to a witch's familiar. So usually they'll offer them guidance for how to use the powers and defeat their enemies. And they always give the viewer a lot of exposition about the mechanics and world building of the story. One of the shows that we are going to discuss today was the creator of that trope that was the first one to have the guardian animals, which we'll talk about when we get there. The transformation scene, which I think is maybe the most recognizable part, It's like a fun sequence set to music where the characters change from their street clothes into their battle uniform, usually accompanied by a lot of sparkles and maybe some imagery that reflects their themed power if they have one.
Sometimes borderline seizure-inducing sequences.
Like that Pokemon episode that caused all those seizures.
And is banned in the U.S.
Good.
Anyway, there also is usually a transformation trinket. So it's an item or an accessory that they need in order to make their transformation. Sometimes it's a piece of jewelry. Sometimes it is a fancy-looking pen. Sometimes it's a phone. But they have some sort of item. That can also be their magical weapon occasionally. It'll be the same thing that they use to battle. So it'll be like a magical bow and arrow or a magical sword or something that they use to do magical things. I'm going to say magic a lot today. Transformation phrases and attack phrases. Sometimes when it's time to fight the baddies, there's like a specific phrase or incantation that they need to invoke in order to trigger their powers. Sometimes they have multiple different phrases and incantations for different things. Like famously on Sailor Moon, throughout the series, they change and get new things they yell out to hit people, which is the next thing on the list, which is custom magical attacks, because sometimes their powers will have themes. They'll have attacks, like if it's a fire-themed person, they have fire attacks. If it's a thunder-themed person, they'll have lightning strikes or whatever. Another one is witches. Sometimes the magical girls are just magical, like generically, but sometimes they're specifically witches, and they'll have costumes and accessories that reflect that, like wands or pointy hats. I think there's one that's called Witch Hat Atelier. They have pointy hats and cloaks all the time, like Harry Potter. And they will do their magic using spells specifically. And the last one I have listed here, even though there's a lot of other tropes we could talk about, is color coding. Usually, if there's a group, each of them will be a specific color, from their hair to their clothes to their costume when they're fighting. Everything about them will be themed around that color, and the color tells you something about their personality or what they're going to do. So red-colored characters are usually very fiery and stubborn and blunt, and they usually butt heads with whoever the leader of the group is, and they have often fire-themed powers. Blue characters are usually intelligent, to the point of being nerdy and shy, more mature than the rest of the group, and more cautious than their teammates, and they usually have like water-based powers. And then green, just to pick another random one, they're usually good fighters. A lot of times they'll have nature-based powers like plants or thunder, like I said. And sometimes they'll be tomboys for some reason, specifically. Well, I mean, I know the reason. It's because they're based off of the originator of the trope. And there's more colors and associated personality types that go with them, but those are three of the main ones. So those are some of the bigger themes, and I think all of them show up in the shows that we watched this time.
Also have another one, which is that they often revolve around the magical freedom of adolescence prior to marriage and motherhood, which is important in some of the magical girl, the earlier ones, where they end up giving up their power to reintegrate back into their gendered roles and get married and have children.
Yeah, and I am by no means a magical girl expert, but in the episodes that I did watch in preparation for this episode, I did notice that some of the magical girls have powers that let them grow up and then regress back and kind of go back and forth. So that that definitely plays in part of, like, you know, coming of age and what comes with that. So
the magic is sort of an allegory for them to learn and grow and become that grown-up eventually on their own, I guess. I think that especially comes into effect with some of the shows that take a darker turn. So they're losing the innocence of their childhood and becoming like inured to the darkness and the danger that's in the world, and that's represented by...
Or their ignorance is exploited.
Or that.
In one particular show that comes to mind.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
But yeah, those are some of the major tropes. Some of the more fun tropes too.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who are like completely like I am, like clueless to this genre, what is, like, when you think of magical girls shows, like what is the show that our listeners maybe have heard of, even if they're not even necessarily anime fans?
Sailor Moon.
It's gonna be Sailor Moon.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. Sailor Moon, which came out when I was a kid, and it usually came on either before or after the anime that I would watch. And that kind of signaled to me like, oh, the show I want to watch is coming on either next or this is time for me to turn off the TV.
Yikes, roasted.
No, I mean, it's heavily targeted for young girls.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I did experience this when I was younger, so I had more of a cultural understanding of what it is.
That's kind of why I was excited for us to do this episode with you, because I guess we sort of have been culturally encouraged to be interested in this. And I know that you like anime, but this is something that I think a lot of guys, unless they have a reason to watch it, they assume a lot about what it is and don't know some of the deeper themes that can show up and how enjoyable it can be.
Yeah. I don't want to get too, reveal my cards too early in the episode, but another reason I wish I watched this when it came out is going back and watching things from the 90s in 2024. The animation standards have gotten so much better, and there's a lot of stuff that's kind of hard to watch now that I wish I was able to appreciate it and had maybe a little bit of a nostalgia glasses I could put on to make me appreciate it.
Enjoy in real time.
In a different way. Yeah, a different way.
I will point out that Toei specifically markets both their all of their magical girl stuff to both prepubescent girls and adult men. Like, very specifically, they have different marketing techniques for each one.
Yeah, and watching these as an adult man, I could definitely see that.
There are, even though people would be most familiar with Sailor Moon, there are a lot of shows that came before it and after it that are pretty important too, that I think we should talk about.
Yeah, sure. So Magical Girls basically started in the 1960s. Sally the Witch is the first attributed magical girl anime from 1966, and it features a witch princess who teleported to Earth and uses magic to solve her problems. And then closely after that, Himitsu Ako-chan premiered, which is about an elementary school girl with a magic mirror who can transform into anything she desires. So those are like the two big ones from the 60s. They're largely inspired by Bewitched, which is apparently incredibly popular in Japan. Like, way more popular than it ever was here. And I think even into the modern era is super popular.
Yeah, I had heard that as well. I think that's the Sally, is it Sally the Witch?
Yes.
I think that actually predates Bewitched by maybe like a year or two.
I think the manga does. So,
Okay.
Yeah, they actually came out in the reverse order in manga. So Ako-chan came out in manga before Sally the Witch, but I guess Sally the Witch was made into anime quicker.
Yeah, the magical girl thing, like genre, predates a lot of the other genres that I'm more familiar with. So I didn't realize it went back quite that far.
Mm-hmm.
And you can apply a lot of the themes, like knowing that it's inspired by Bewitched. That makes a lot of sense if you think of design, if you think of plotting and stuff. But I guess some of those themes really, you can look through entertainment history and find them somewhere.
It's kind of like a smash up between Bewitched and like a superhero show.
They have roots in those like Power Rangers, the Sentai shows. So that if you put those two things together, that's pretty much what you get.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, before you continue, you mentioned Clark Kent earlier. I think that's a good analogy for like their kind of style and everything. Like they're switching between their daily life and their super life. But the one that I kept thinking about when I was watching these shows is Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man is a high school student, and if you've ever read the comic books of Spider-Man, or I guess seen the movies too, to a certain degree, half of the comic books are just him dealing with typical teenage stuff, but with also the burden of the responsibility of being Spider-Man. So I think a lot of the Magic Girl shows are kind of like touch on that same feeling too a little bit. Like half of the show seems like it's set in their school and they're dealing with school stuff. Oh, then they're pulled away from it, or they have to balance that with saving the world.
That's a great point. I never thought of it that way, but they're doing the Spider-Man thing.
They are doing the Spider-Man thing. So after the 1960s and the 70s, we get even more of the witches. They're called Majoko, I think is the pronunciation, with shows like Chappie the Witch, which she leaves her magical world for the human world and uses magic with the help of a magical baton. Megu Little Witch, which tells the story of a young witch who comes to Earth as part of her initiation into a larger society as heir to the witch throne. So we're getting like a lot more complicated backstories here. And the big production company in the 70s was Toei, which will come back later. We also start to see the introduction of fan service in the 1970s.
We just can't escape fan service.
No. And we get more sexualized protagonists, such as Cutie Honey, who is specifically targeted more towards boys, and is more so recognized in hindsight as Magical Girl than it really was when it was airing. But it has all of the hallmarks. She transforms, has like 7 different transformations, all kinds of things. So then in the 1980s, Toei moves on. They're like, we've had enough of these magical girls, and it sort of leaves open the space for 2 more studios. Ashi Pro, which did Fairy Princess Minky Momo, which we'll talk about later.
A classic.
And Studio
Pierrot,
which did Magical Angel Creamy Mommy.
Very similar to Minky Momo, actually.
Yeah. So these 2 sort of paved the way for magical girls as we know them. They both also targeted children, but had a lot of jokes aimed at older viewers who were familiar with the genre. So the story of Creamy Mommy...
Can I interrupt? Because I want to clarify to Alex because of his reaction. Mommy like M-A-M-I, not like Creamy Mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna...
It's not that bad.
I think I got that. No, I didn't go there, but... There is a character on one of the shows we're going to talk about later whose name is also Mommy, and that confused me through multiple episodes. I'm like, this girl... Never mind. We'll get to it.
So you got to watch with the subtitles.
I'm so confused.
So Creamy Mommy is the story of... I just have you here, but I don't think that's correct. Whose power is to change into her adult form a pop singer named Mommy. So this is essentially Hannah Montana.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, she has like a love interest, but he's not really interested in her, but he's in love with her pop star persona. And I think she only gets this power for a year, but she loses it when she falls in love.
It's dangerous when that kid's around.
So this is also where we start to see the transformation sequence that we know now. And then I just want to talk about Lala Belle the Magical Girl, which I think is probably the origin of the genre name. I don't have a description of that show, though.
I think it's notable for
just
giving
for
us
its
the name.
Yeah. That one actually premiered before Minky Momo and Creamy Mommy.
They really did some dirty work with the names.
Apparently, yes. Also, the crossovers were really big in the 1980s. There is an episode where Minky Momo and Creamy Mommy go head to head.
Like a battle of each other?
Yes.
Over what?
I have no idea.
They have so much in common.
Yeah. But this is really the era of like making TV shows that are just ads for toys. And I think if you have watched Minky Momo, you would know she has a lot of accoutrements that were very sellable. Even in the credit sequence, there's just like a toy. Like it's just like a toy of her house.
Her house is cool. We'll get to it.
Yeah. So then in the 1990s, this is where Magical Girl really starts to, I guess, explode.
And where we enter the scene.
So the most important show is Sailor Moon, of course, which popularized the warrior Magical Girl, which blended some traditional aspects of Magical Girls with one similar to like Power Rangers. And we start seeing like teamwork as a fundamental strategy for fighting evil. We also see, they're dealing with the social aspects of being a modern teen. And they're dealing with, being cute, but also powerful and all these like interesting things.
The constant struggle we all have.
Yeah. An important note about Sailor Moon is it's the first Magical Girl series to have a female creator. So we did 30 years without.
Before Queen Naoko.
Mm-hmm.
Naoko Takuchi. I was just looking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some brave man gave this woman a shot.
And it changed the course of history and entertainment.
It's also one of the top 50 grossing media franchises. So I watched a video that Crunchyroll produced that didn't list citations. They cite it at an estimated 14 billion as of 2021. But the only other source I could find has it closer to 3 billion, but the numbers are much older, so it's still somewhere in the billions.
Maybe it has to do with timing, because with the release of Sailor Moon Crystal, they've been doing, like, you could buy Sailor Moon anything these days,
Yes.
marketing-wise.
I think I watched that same video, and they mentioned, I think they said it was 25th most popular franchise of all time, and it was only just, like, this year passed by SpongeBob in terms of total revenue.
Wow, that's disrespectful. Of all franchises, no hate to SpongeBob.
All the hate to Squidward.
It's his fault.
And then, like, the other big magical girl of the 1990s is Cardcaptor Sakura. We're going to talk about both of these later, which is why I'm not doing, like, a lot on it. But Sakura's a bit of a younger protagonist than Usagi, and she works alone, but does have, like, a support team, and she fits more of, like, the cute witch kind of magical girl, but with some warrior elements. She's also created by an all-female manga collective called Clamp. So these are just, like, the two, I guess, like, seminal works of the genre. Like, if you know anything about magical girls, it's those two that you know about. And they also start to introduce a lot more of the stuff we'll start to see, like all the different romance in various iterations. There's lots of different romances going on in all of the shows. Some censored for U.S. audiences, some not. There's some age-appropriate ones.
Some that should have.
Some less age-appropriate ones. And we sort of see where that goes as time goes on. In the 2000s, we're seeing more, like, different kinds. So we start to see a little more of the darker shows, like Princess Tutu, where a clumsy duck transforms into a magical ballerina to collect the shattered heart of a storybook prince. Which is I
think it's based on Swan Lake.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a tale as old as time.
Yeah. And then we also get Pretty Cure during this time, which is usually... So as of right now, it has 21 seasons with almost 1,000 episodes. It's more of an anthology series that fits the more standard magical girl tropes. But the action sequences were planned by the director of Dragon Ball. So we're pulling in more of the sort of...
shonen themes.
Yeah. We also start to see more shows aimed at male fantasies, such as Magical Girl Lyrical Nanoha, which is like a spin-off of a different show, but it's about a 9-year-old girl who can transform.
It's a male fantasy, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Take your word for it.
We almost did watch that for this episode.
Oh, thank you.
We changed our minds.
Yeah. So the 2010s is where my note here says gets dark. Madoka is the big dark one that most people know. We see more self-awareness, darker themes, magical boys, and expansion of demographics. So 2 series that I highlighted here. Symphogear, which follows idol singers who suit up in ancient armor powered by song to fight against an alien threat. So that one sort of combines, like, the idol part, kind of with the mecha magical girl thing. And there is actually
a little bit of Evangelion in there as well.
Yeah, there is music in it. Then there's Yuki Yuna is a Hero, where the deity that protects humanity grants superpowers to the members of a middle school hero club who must assume magical forms to combat invading creatures from another world.
They're getting so complicated, these plots.
So I think we're really here seeing the deconstruction of the genre. So, we're breaking down all of these themes and really getting to the core of them. The 2010s is also where we see, like, Magical Girl Ore, which is aimed at adults, but is a subversion of the genre, where a girl transforms into a magical boy to protect her crush from demons. I think she's part of like a long line of magical girls. And I think her mom's name is like Magical MILF, which is awful.
No. Just no.
I'm glad we didn't watch that. That would have been a totally different episode.
And then
Magical MILF.
yeah, we also see more magical boys such as Cute High Earth Defense Club Love, which is a crazy
Love these titles.
title.
That's a bounce to it.
It's better than Creamy Mammy.
Everything is better than Creamy Mammy.
And then now we're sort of in like the modern era of magical girls. And I think we're getting more meta with them. I think we're probably going to come back around to like the cutesy versions of them. But two that have most recently come out are Magical Destroyers. And this one is in 2008, otaku culture is eliminated in Japan. In 2011, the otaku hero and his 3 magical girls start a revolution to bring back otaku culture.
What is otaku culture again?
Otakus are like anime nerds, like, or not necessarily just anime, but they are passionate about like a pop culture thing, but in an unpleasant way.
A way that's all-encompassing of their
yes
personalities.
If you think of like that character from The Simpsons,
comic book nerd guy?
the comic book nerd guy, like that, but for any topic that they might like. Frequently in Japan, it can be like anime or manga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how's that guy? I understand.
And then the other one, this one I think is currently airing, Gushing Over Magical Girls, in which a high school student passionate about magical girls is tricked into joining an evil organization that fights magical girls, where she learns that there's also a twisted side to her love of magical girls, which is another subversion of the genre where she's like the evil magical girl. So that brings us pretty much up to date on the history.
We'll see where it goes.
Magical girls.
I think you're right, though. I think it's gonna, once they're done deconstructing the genre, it's gonna go back to like the new sincerity of magical girls, and there'll be like a Ted Lasso version of magical girl shows.
I think people will get overwhelmed with the deconstructions.
Yeah, they're all very dark.
Yeah.
Like none of the deconstructions are fun, even though I'm sure that there is a way in which to do it.
This is where I was going to say there's a few movies that would kind of fit into that bill, but that's not what we're talking about here on this episode. Great. Great job on catching us up into the entire history of the magical genre. You mentioned Sailor Moon. Is that was your entrance into this? Yeah, that came out. We're all roughly the same age, so that's.
We were the perfect age for it, just like we were also the perfect age for the Phantom Menace. Mm-hmm. It hit around the same time.
It sure did.
And I was Gundam, Dragon Ball. That was sort of like geared towards young boys. So that came out or it was introduced into the West around the same time. So that makes sense.
Toonami, I think we probably all were watching the same the programming block. I would come home from school and watch Sailor Moon, and then turn it off when Tenchi Muyo would come on.
Yeah, on the very rare occasions when we either had cable or Cartoon Network was free, to get to watch Sailor Moon was like the biggest treat.
I will also say, because we luckily were the age when they started merchandising it here as well, especially with Sailor Moon, because I also sometimes didn't have cable, a big way to watch it was, the internet, some sources on the internet, but
Blockbuster.
but also I had tapes.
Yeah.
And largely for Sailor Moon, I watched the same arc of the show over and over again because I had a box set of that arc and still do own it. But yeah, tapes and DVDs were a big thing because it was hard to get anime back in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Absolutely.
It's like a desert.
Yeah, I remember my local comic book shop, the Annex back in Newport. Wayne, shout out to Wayne. I think it's a second shout out on the podcast. He would import like dubbed bootleg VHS tapes from Japan of all these shows.
There was also a store in Smith Haven Mall. It was like a DVD store. It was in the food court area, yes. I remember. And they would sell, back then they would do anime DVDs that had like 3 episodes on it. So you had to buy like 64 DVDs to watch the whole show. But I would just buy whichever DVD was on clearance. So they would just clearance like disc 30. I would just buy it. And that's how in our day we consumed the content. But anyway,
today, everything is available pretty much everywhere. The library, we have many of these on DVD. Crunchyroll is the most popular streaming service for a lot of these. And even Hulu nowadays has a pretty good selection.
And Netflix.
Netflix got to the point where they started making their own anime. So there's some great shows that they have helped produce on there.
So in preparation for this episode, Tory and Kristina, you came up with kind of like a beginner's guide to Magic Girls. You gave me roughly 20 episodes to watch. And I think we're going to go through them chronologically, or how do you want to go through
So we did curate a flight of episodes for you.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
And it's roughly chronological, but there's also sort of a thematic course that it takes, which is why one of the oldest shows is one of the last shows that we watched to sort of prepare for the final series that we're going to discuss. So a mix between chronological and thematic.
Okay, so what should we start with?
I think we're going to start with the big one, Sailor Moon.
Okay.
From 1992 all the way back. So just a summary. We watched 2 episodes. We watched episode 1 and then we watched episode 34 to sort of give an introduction to the world and then also drop you in and see, once they have established the story, what the show is like. So episode 1, I'll give a little summary. Usagi, running late to school as usual, sees a stray cat with a mysterious crescent moon-shaped bald spot on its forehead being bullied by school kids and hurries to school after saving it, where she and her friends Naru and Umino geek out over the local superhero Sailor V, who fights crime in a fun sailor outfit and mask, but no one knows her true identity. Meanwhile, in the Dark Kingdom, Queen Beryl is on the hunt for the mysterious Silver Crystal. She's also looking to collect human energy to feed her master, and Jadeite, one of her henchmen, takes on the mission of gathering it. He kidnaps Naru's mom and replaces her with a lookalike monster who uses jewelry to sap the energy of local women and girls. Luna, the cat Usagi rescued, knows something is wrong and presents her with a magical brooch and an explanation. She's really Sailor Moon, a guardian of the city, who needs to find the rest of the Sailor Scouts and the Moon Princess that they serve. She uses her newfound powers to save the day. So it's the major story beats of the episode. I'm curious, Alex, what your thoughts were after watching. What was your familiarity with Sailor Moon from? Did you have any?
My familiarity with Sailor Moon was, I knew what they looked like. I knew that's basically it. I mean, my assumption was this is Power Rangers, but for girls. And I was more off than I thought I would be. That's basically it. I didn't even know the characters' names. I learned who Asagi was from episode 1. I thought her name was just Sailor Moon. But apparently Sailor Moon is a title, not a name.
It's her job.
It's her job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was extremely ignorant of how big Sailor Moon was. So, yeah.
Were you impressed by it and what it actually turned out to be once you saw it?
I think if I had seen it in the 90s when it was coming out, I would have a much greater appreciation for it. But I did like what I saw. I thought the animation was good. I liked the art style in general, not more the villain side of it. I thought was really well done, like almost Miyazaki at times level good, like Ghibli level good. Yeah, I don't know. What were your thoughts on it? Going back and watching it again.
I like that you pulled out the art style because it's one of my favorite things about both the manga and the anime. The creator Naoko Takeuchi does brilliant art. Like she will just release huge art books she'll just draw, and she's inspired by a lot of like 90s fashion, Chanel and things like that.
Fashion.
Like a lot of the outfits that you end up seeing are literal pulled from the runway, and she just draws them. And I had a note that there was a pastel shot of Sailor Moon busting through the door of the jewelry store that was just like gorgeous randomly in the middle of the episode.
The other thing that caught me off guard when I was watching this is the humor. Like I was not expecting Usagi to be like a ditz, like a funny character. Like you almost have never seen that. At least I had never seen that in any of like the shows I can compare this to, like superhero shows and stuff. Like rarely is the main character like also the fall person, you know?
And she does take a lot of crap for that.
Yeah, for the whole series.
Like from fans or
from the other characters.
Well, as she should.
From her friends.
Yes. Yeah. To the fans, she's like a sort of a lovable oaf, but the other Sailor Scouts get very frustrated with her klutziness.
That's fair. Stakes are pretty high.
But it does allow her to have like this incredible arc where she grows up by the end of the series. Like, she learns a lot and
Yeah.
is still clumsy, but much more mature by the end.
Yeah, it's a good starting point for a series, certainly. Yeah, I don't know. I of all the shows we watched, I think this one is pretty solid and holds up pretty well.
Christina, rewatching it, did you have any thoughts or things that stood out to you?
A lot of the things that stood out to me were things that, like, I forgot about. Like, I forgot that Usagi has a brother.
Oh, yeah.
I also forgot that Tuxedo Mask is always super unhelpful. Like, he, right from the get-go, just comes and he's mysterious, and then he leaves.
He really doesn't help them in fights at all.
No. Like, at this point, you're like, why? Why is he here?
To look good, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a bullet point in my notes there. It was just Tuxedo Mask, and then it was just the pho. It's like, what is this?
I'm not sure. I'm sure, or I don't think you will ever. There's a lot of episodes, and I don't think you'll probably explore it to the depth that you would discover. But there's a storyline later in the series where the character Mamoru, whose alter ego is Tuxedo Mask, loses his memory even more than he already has, because that's his backstory is that he doesn't remember his childhood because of a car accident. But he loses more memories so that he doesn't remember who anyone else is or who he is at all, including Tuxedo Mask, and instead has a different alter ego called the Moonlight Knight, who dresses up in a Middle Eastern themed outfit and then will show up and just be a desert man and also be unhelpful.
Yeah.
But it's worse. It's worse.
Can I have a quick side tangential note? What is up with car accidents in these series? We'll get into that again later, but like that's another trope that I've noticed in like almost every series.
It's become even a bigger trope in like anime widely now.
Because after I saw the one we're going to talk about later, I immediately was like, oh my god, this is Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, this is how it starts. Almost exactly frame for frame.
Does like Japan have like a history of car accidents that I don't know about? Like,
they make a lot of cars.
It can't be more than America.
I think it's just an easy story beat to be like, we need something dramatic.
Yeah. And they don't have guns or anything in there.
Yeah.
So that's all they have.
Another show we're going to talk about, they do have guns.
They do.
Unexpectedly, they have guns. Some of the things that we see in this episode are like really important versions of the tropes that we were talking about, that everything else that we've seen since has been based off of it. Like her transformation sequence is legendary, with her rising up into the air and just the clothes explode upon her body.
Yeah, I think that's like a little cute workaround for like the fan service stuff. Going back to that, it's like, oh, they're not really naked. You just see the silhouette of a naked young girl,
which is a little bit uncomfortable. But the art of the scene is done so well that you can tell it's not really.
You can look past it. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, she's got her statement that she says in order to transform, Moon Prism Power Makeup, which is iconic.
I wrote that down verbatim as one of my notes, and it made no sense to me weeks later.
So that's just what she said. Each of the Sailor Scouts, you don't get to see it, but they each have one that they say.
Okay. No, that makes way more sense now.
And she has attack phrases too. She says Moon Tiara action, and then she throws her tiara to slice up the foes.
And in the name of the moon, I'll punish you.
Well, she's got did I write down? She's got a whole speech that she says after she transforms. She usually says something like flippant to the bad guy, sort of a Spider-Man type of moment that she has. And they just stand there and watch her do it. They don't attack while she's...
Well, they're honorable fighters.
They are. One other thing I wanted to bring up before we move on to the second Sailor Moon episode, it was jarring for me to watch because this is a more recent dub of the show, a more recent recording of English actors with different actors than we originally saw it with. And when they made the English version in the 90s that we grew up with, they did a lot of editing to make it understandable to Western children. And also the voices sometimes were questionable. So it was strange, and the names were changed. So Usagi was named Serena for unknown reasons. All of the Sailor Scouts had different names.
Mamoru was Darien.
My first television crush in childhood. But like Luna, the cat, the talking cat, had a British accent, and she had sort of she sounded like a motherly type instead of sounding similar in age to the rest of the Sailor Scouts. So I think it really gives a different experience when you're watching. And things like the Dark Kingdom was called the Negaverse, which in some ways it was more fun.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested for you to watch that because it's also not good.
Sure, let me put that on my
especially
list.
because there are episodes that are stranger than this. Like Tory immediately vetoed my suggestion that we watch an episode where cassette tapes are the bad guys, essentially.
We didn't need to review that. But let's move on to the next episode.
I just have one note about episode 1. And I just want to know what your thoughts are on this. So Morga, is that her name? The main villain? Mm-hmm. Her whole scheme for and luring these teenage girls into like an energy trap or something is to have a jewelry sale. What do you think about that? I thought it was funny.
It worked.
But it's funny. It's funny looking back on it like 30 years later as like, wow, this is interesting.
For me, it feels like something that like adults would do. So like to see, like one of those things where like where you're a little kid and you're like, oh, there's a jewelry sale, we must go. That's an adult thing for me to do, to buy jewelry. So like I think that's a little bit of the appeal there.
Okay. So would that have worked in you if you were a girl at that time? Like that made no sense to me at all.
No, because I didn't have any money. So unless the sale
neither
was
did
free.
Usagi.
That's what saved her.
Or friends with money. Like
I mean, there are also like adult women and teen girls shopping next to each other, and those people don't like the same jewelry, but they were all united at this sale for some reason. They don't want you to think about it too much.
Okay.
So moving on to episode 34, which is a big jump, but they did some good exposition explaining some of what we missed. Luna and Usagi have located the rest of the Sailor Guardians and recruited them to the cause of finding and protecting the princess. I'm not going to list all their names, but one of them includes the famous fighter Sailor V that Sailor Moon or Usagi was such a big fan of. In addition, the true identity of Tuxedo Mask is none other than the mysterious jerk she met on the street in episode 1, Mamoru. Back in the Dark Kingdom, Queen Beryl gives her henchmen the Great Ruler's latest decree. They need to bring Tuxedo Mask to her alive, and she will not be sharing why. Mamoru is stressing about how he wasn't able to protect Sailor Moon when suddenly he gets a Zoom call from Beryl's flunky Zoisite. He challenges Mamoru to a battle for possession of the rainbow crystals. Of course, this doesn't end up being a fair fight, and Zoisite ambushes Mamoru and transfers him to the Dark Kingdom with Usagi in tow, and they follow it up with an even worse trick. The other henchman, Kunzite, appears and grabs all of the rainbow crystals. Usagi and Mamoru both need to transform to save the day, and when Tuxedo Mask is stabbed and a win seems impossible, Usagi's tears unite the rainbow crystals together. The silver crystal appears.
Well, that was a good summary because I didn't get any of that when I watched it.
It was a huge... My only note here is, wow, they're really getting into the lore here. Like, this was the biggest lore dump of the show.
I was completely lost on this episode.
But it's also... this is in the middle of an arc, I think. I think there's an episode immediately before that gives more context and two more after, I think, that followed the same exact. So it's a longer episode. It's a longer story than just this one episode.
But the first stretch of episodes are not all necessary.
No.
Because they spend a lot of time meeting all of the other characters and establishing...
And filler. It's
yes.
like every other episode or so, they meet a new Sailor Scout.
And have a whole...
And this is, I think, the first one where the team is fully assembled.
Yes, I think the episode before this, they had finally gotten Sailor V, aka Sailor Venus. So we picked this because it was... you could see all of the crew together. You could see sort of how they actually fight and... what the goal of the bad guys is. Plus, at the very end of the episode, you get the transformation and the reveal that Usagi is actually the moon princess that they've been looking for. The episodes before that, they kind of treat her like crap. And they're like, well, once we find the moon princess, everything will be hunky-dory. And shockingly, it's her.
Do they also establish in this one... I know sometimes one of the things I see online is like, well, why isn't there a Sailor Earth?
Oh.
Like, did they establish why in this, or is it? It's in this.
In
it must
episode
be
563. They touch.
No, it has to be in this arc, I think.
I've seen an explanation before, and I don't remember. It might be that Tuxedo Mask represents the Earth.
Yeah, it is that Tuxedo Mask is Sailor Earth,
but he doesn't do anything.
But he doesn't do anything.
This episode was a lore dump. I even had a note that said this episode could have just been a movie if they just paced it out a little bit more.
The whole first season probably could have just been a movie, really.
I think Sailor Moon Crystal does it in like 13 episodes or something.
But with uglier art.
I like the Crystal art. It's not as cute.
No.
Speaking of art, I had a note here. The background art for the villain lair reminds me a lot of the original Dragon Ball. And it really does. Like, it's really cool and creepy. I like that a lot.
You really like he relates to the Negaverse, it seems. You're drawn to them. I wrote a note that said that Mamoru and Usagi not recognizing each other out of costume is like some deep Clark Kenting of each other. Like, they're constantly looking at each other in and out of costume and neither of them realizes.
I had another note on that. I'm like, it's so obviously Tuxedo Mask.
Just hold up your hand in front of where his eyes are and in front of the top of his head.
And also because Sailor V has like the same mask as Tuxedo Mask does.
That should maybe have clued them in. We get to see some of the other scouts fight, so we get to hear some of their other cool attacks, like Supreme Thunder from Sailor Jupiter, aka the best Sailor Scout.
Mm-hmm.
That's unanimous? Okay.
Yeah.
Unanimous in this room.
In this room.
We also get the reveal of Mamoru's backstory with the car crash. He's had dreams for years. Dreams is another theme, I would say, in the Magical Girl shows. But he's been dreaming of the Moon Princess telling him to find the silver crystal, and he thinks it'll bring back his memories. That's unclear. And he also gets stabbed and dies briefly, which is really dark. I think this is the first time maybe that the show gets that dark. And it does get more dark.
It does.
As you go on. But do we have any other thoughts about Sailor Moon?
I mean, my biggest takeaway was I just didn't know why this wasn't a bigger deal. Like, I don't know how I missed that something that was so big.
I think you missed that it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I wonder if some of it isn't just the way sort of that as like elementary school students were kind of, boys and girls were very segregated, like on the playground, because there were multiple groups of senshi on my playground where each girl was a different Sailor Scout, and we would play Sailor Moon on the playground.
And I had the toys. There's like a thing that shows up later in the series that is designed for marketing to children, obviously, where there's a device that's the cat Luna's head, but it's a robot and it floats around, and sometimes it's a purse, but it like helps them out in ways that I don't even remember. But I saw that in a toy store window, and my mom got it for me. The Luna P ball, it's called.
Luna P ball, yeah.
I had one of those. You could buy like the magical sticks.
I think I had Sailor Moon's wand.
I still have one, and it makes a lot of noise.
I remember it making a lot of noise, and mine not having batteries for a lot of my childhood.
But even though we were fans of this stuff in a time when it wasn't so popular here, like we still were able to fully engage with it. But it just wasn't targeted towards the things that you would be looking for.
Yeah, it's surprising how much of this was in the dark for me as somebody who liked anime too.
You missed out.
Yeah, but I think it's just ripe for, like, it has a good cast of characters. You know, they all have like pretty deep backgrounds and things. It seems like could have been very easily adapted into like a hit video game that I would have played or something.
Well, that's a whole other thing that we don't have to get into, but there actually were a lot of Sailor Moon video games in the 90s, and they never translated or brought them over to America. I played some of them because people fan translated and then emulated them online. And some of them were like scrolling fight games. Some of them were arcade style games. It was a big... Sailor Moon is huge in Japan, so it was a big video game thing too, but we haven't gotten that here.
Yeah, that was kind of similar with like Gundam and Dragon Ball too. Like there were a lot of games that never made it. And I remember buying like Japanese games offline and hoping that they would work on my PlayStation, and half of them wouldn't.
It's not too late to give us the games. They still won't do it, and I don't know why.
Give us the games, Sony.
Give us the games. Christina, do you want to lead us into our next show?
Sure. So we're going to talk about Cardcaptor Sakura, which is my favorite Magical Girl series. So the show is just about an elementary student, Sakura Kinomoto. So we watched 2 episodes of this as well. So episode 1, after having a strange dream about a strange winged creature and some mysterious cards, Sakura ends up distracted all day, from school to cheerleading practice. She tries to figure out what it means. While home alone after school, she hears a strange noise and goes into her basement to check, where she discovers the Clow. In the show, in the dub we watched it, they called it the Clo, which I'll talk about, I guess, when we discuss the episode. But a book of magical cards. Also released from the book is a grumpy creature called Keroberos, the guardian of the cards, who explains that he and the cards were created by a wizard named Clow Reed, and they are very dangerous when left to their own devices. Sakura learns that being able to release the cards means she has a magical affinity, and he dubs her the Cardcaptor, the one responsible for recapturing the whole set. For her first mission, she only uses the one card left in the book, the Windy, to capture her first rogue card, the Fly.
Starring Jeff Goldblum.
So episode 1 introduces like a lot of the basic lore of the show, but it doesn't, like Sailor Moon, there's a lot more, which is why we had to watch another episode. So it does really bother me that they say Clo the whole time. In the 90s, so Cardcaptor Sakura had a similar thing as Sailor Moon, where it has a 90s dub and it has a more recent dub. So in the 90s dub, it had a fantastic theme song that was very of its time. And if the song doesn't work with Clo, it only works with Clow.
That was a big thing back then, making custom theme songs for the American version of the shows, which are very different from the Japanese theme songs.
One of them, in the Sailor Moon one, they just yell all the names of the Sailor Scouts.
Oh, yeah.
In the Cardcaptors one, they yell all the names of the cards.
All of the cards?
All of the cards.
There's a lot of cards.
It's funny, like, it's a trend in these, like, 90s anime shows. Like, they didn't understand that the Japanese-ness of the show is what made it so popular with kids. Like, it was just so different.
And they were afraid of kids being able to learn and understand other cultures.
Yeah. And also, the Japanese theme song for this is so good.
It was good.
Like, I could listen to it all day.
I liked this one, the one that I watched.
Yes, that's the Japanese theme song.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So we watched a more recent dub than the one that Kristina watched as a kid.
Yes, which is why I will refer to other characters as different names also, probably.
I have a note here. It's not an important note, but I wrote, Usagi would never rollerblade, which I thought was such a cool...
So Sakura kind of brings back, like, she's the tomboy, she cheerleads, she rollerblades. She does a lot. She cooks for her family. Her dad is like an archaeology professor. She has an older brother who shares some of that responsibility with, who also works 1,000 jobs, which is one of the ongoing jokes of the show, is he's always at a different part-time job.
He's like, what's the character from Gilmore Girls? Do neither of you watch that?
Yes, the one who's played by Sean Gunn's brother.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember his name in the show, but...
I know that guy.
Yeah.
She is sort of the opposite of Usagi in every way. Like, she's very smart and good at school. She's very coordinated and good at sports. She's good at everything. Mm-hmm. People like her.
People like her, yeah.
She gets up for school on time. So it's really an interesting, since they were around the same time, but Sailor Moon is known to be so influential, to see her go totally in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk was his name from Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
I wonder, did they merchandise the rollerblades?
They didn't. So I had her wand and I had the Clow cards as a child. So I think also I wanted to point out some of the differences between Cardcaptor Sakura. So she doesn't have a transformation sequence. She doesn't transform really. She uses the cards to transform other things throughout the show, but for the most part, her best friend makes her outfits for her. So she has a new battle outfit every episode that her friend sews for her.
I really like this show.
Wow.
I'm just going to say it. This, of all the shows, this one might have been my favorite. I really bought into like the magic card stuff. I like that. I think that is like very smart from like a marketing standpoint. Yeah. Like, I'm sure they sold a bajillion cards. I'm sure there was a card game.
Mine came in a set with the book. I got it at Toys R Us.
I also had the cards in like a plastic case that looked like the book. I did not watch this show growing up. I just thought that they looked cool.
Yeah, and you have to peel them off and do them in a certain...
It's giving Pokemon, it's giving Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
The heart of the cards.
I really like the concept of like catching the wild magic beasts. So, and like the episodic nature of the show, where like, kind of like X-Files, where like each episode could be like, this is the monster of the week. This is like, and it doesn't have to be a battle each time. Like, it could be more like puzzly. Like, use your powers. What works best against this? I thought it was like a really good formula for a show, and I really appreciated like the 10-year jump in animation quality from Sailor Moon.
It wasn't even 10 years. It was like 6.
Well, it was a huge jump in quality.
Jeez, roast Sailor Moon, why don't you?
Well,
Okay, so we watched a different episode too. Episode 8, Sakura's rival appears. 2 months after the events of the last episode, Sakura, whose dreams so far have proven to be prophetic, is at it again. She keeps having a dream of a boy dressed in Chinese clothing. When she gets to school, there's a new exchange student joining her class. It's the boy from her dream. His name is Lee, and he confronts Sakura. He knows she has the cloud cards, and he's ready to make some trouble if she doesn't hand them over. The next card to be wrangled makes itself known, the Thunder. And now she's in a race against Lee to see who can capture the card first. So I did this one. I picked this one too because it introduces Lee, and I think he's one of the most important characters in the show. He's a descendant of Cloud Reed, which I don't know if they talk about.
They did, yeah.
In the episode.
His mom's side of the family.
Yes. And he's very important to helping Sakura do all of her stuff. We also see one of the outfits that Tomoyo makes for Sakura, who she made it so it was rubber, so she had some resistance against the card.
And it's so cute.
They're all so cute.
Yes. I had a note that, because I think it might just be because of the episodes that we watched, but she has another dream. She had a dream in the first episode, and she's like the Miss Cleo of anime. Like, because her dreams keep coming true. Yeah. She knows what's going on deep down.
That continues to happen even in the sequel series.
Oh, so she is the Miss Cleo of anime. Wow. The there was a boy wearing Chinese clothes was rough.
Oh my god, every time she said it, I was like, wasn't there a different way? And we could have...
He was wearing a cool outfit.
Like the last emperor. This couldn't be more like stereotypical.
And the outfit is very stereotypical. That's the thing about Clamp. They were offensive in many ways at the time that they were making content. And all of it doesn't age well.
A lot of it, yes. Some of the less savory aspects of Cardcaptor Sakura make their first appearances in this episode as well.
Like the moment between Rika and the teacher.
Yeah.
Long shared gaze. Where
she blushes, and then after school she has to go buy a present for someone special.
It's the teacher.
They sort of...
Is it too late for me to take back that I like this one?
They sort of retcon this in the sequel series a little bit, so they kind of realized that this was not okay. I think this also shows the love between Toya and Yukido, which one of my favorites of all time.
There's also, I think Lee is a really important archetype, an anime archetype. I think you could call him like a tsundere, which is usually like a character who's like grumpy and mean and pushes you away, but deep down he really likes you and wants to help you. And he is a jerk to her, but he also teaches her about how to fight properly with her cards. And you could tell they're probably going to work together against his will as the show goes on.
My note is he's such a little shit here.
Yeah, he's a little jerk.
But a cute one.
One. He gets less jerky as the series goes on.
I ship it. I think the next show that we want to talk about is, we're going back in time again to pre-Sailor Moon, to the one that you mentioned before, Minky Momo, which is one that I watched online as a kid, but I didn't remember a lot of this. So the summary, we watched 2 episodes of this as well. So the summary for the first one, which is called The Day the Magic Vanished. Momo's earthly parents have sent her on a solo mission to deliver an item to a family friend. Unfortunately, while en route, her magical car, Gourmet Popo, runs out of juice. No problem. Her mom gave her money to cover train fare for the whole crew. When she trips and falls at the train station, a series of calamities occur. Her magical pendant falls off and bounces into a train car. Her animal companions rush onto the train to grab it, and worst of all, she drops all of the groceries she bought for the trip. The train takes off, and Momo is separated from the rest of her friends. Her magical parents are worried. She's alone on Earth like a regular girl. A kind stranger named Peter tries to help reunite Momo and her animal friends, but when some ne'er-do-wells try to grab the critters and make a getaway, the unimaginable happens. One of the mooks pulls out a gun and shoots Momo's pendant and Peter to pieces. Momo goes into a dissociative fugue state and her innate powers take over. She scares off the bad guys and brings Peter back to life. So this was a lot.
My thoughts on this one are like, so, I mean, we know it's coming in the next episode. And my thought was just like, this isn't the darkest episode.
Right.
That's wild.
So I forgot the gun.
Gets shot and dies.
Yes.
Her magical car also dies while she's in midair.
Yeah. She does a classic Wile E. Coyote, like they're floating in the air till she looks down and then they fall, which is a nice throwback.
But my third note is this was made to sell toys, right? Like just seeing the car and the little monkey guy, Mocha, who I'm obsessed with.
So she's got 3 animal companions: Sinbook the dog, Mocha the money, and Pipil the bird, along with some her weird car and stuff. We don't learn what her pendant does, so I had to look up what her power is, which is just to transform into an adult, which is such a little kid idea of a cool power. Yeah. I'm gonna be an adult. I'm gonna do adult things in my business office, like the Rugrats literally pushing paper in an office. Yeah, I think from what I recall, this is very different from every other episode that comes before it. Usually it's a more lighthearted, she's got a problem that she can only solve by temporarily being an adult with a job, like a Barbie type of, now
Yeah.
she's a president. But instead she goes on a misadventure and then someone dies.
Yeah. I was a little confused why you chose the 2 episodes for me to watch, episodes 45 and 46, just really jumping into it. I had no idea what was going on. I will say, I had to do a lot of catching up real fast. I think this show has the worst theme song of all of them.
Oh my god. My note here is it's essentially been stuck in my head for the past 20 years. I'm constantly thinking of the Minky Momo theme song.
I'm sorry. You've been tortured all these years.
So catchy.
Yeah, I don't really... My only other... I kind of, again, I was very confused with what's going on. I have more notes about the next episode, but my only note really from this one is, what's going on with her parents? Are they stupid? And then my question was answered when I found out those are not her parents. Those are... Who are they?
So the way that the show is structured, which I thought maybe wasn't too important, but I guess it is, I believe is basically, she is from these space people. Her parents and her are from space. From... What is the place called?
So
Feninarsa?
Yeah, it's
Fenarinarsa. So they're from there, and it used to be united with Earth, but they've become separated. And she is destined to reunite them by gathering sort of like the rainbow crystals from Sailor Moon, but she has to gather all of these things to reunite the worlds. So they send her to Earth, and her earthly parents think that she's their real child. They're brainwashed into thinking that's our child.
So they are just there is a spell over them. I just thought they were just complete idiots.
The fact that they call each other Mama and Papa the whole time made me so upset. I have a note that just says, oh, wow, I really don't like Papa. I don't just...
His energy's bad.
He's got bad vibes.
Can I... Speaking of just a vibe that I didn't trust, even though it was unfounded, Peter, who is a character that shows up to help... her animals, her talking animal cavalcade, get back to her. He has a line where he says, he's leaving his home, he's leaving the animals in his home, and he says, "My name is Peter. My mom named me after Peter Pan." And then he just walks out.
Yes, he also had terrible vibes, and then after, he proved to be really trying to help him, I was like, wow. How cynical of me. How have I been trained? It follows all of the standard, he's going to betray them. He's actually working with the bad guys.
And there's a couple times throughout where I kept thinking, oh, now he's going to turn on... when they show up back at his house and the henchmen have broken into his house and stolen the animals, I was like, oh.
He left it open for them. Yeah.
But then he gets shot, and it's so upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned this, but the show came out in 82. Mm-hmm. So... Yeah, it does a lot of things that are unexpected because of its age.
It does them in a ham-fisted way. It is not well done.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out who the target audience was for this show the whole time I was watching it.
Young girls.
I think that was the problem that we'll get into, I think, in a second.
I think so. In the episode 45, she makes a comment to Mama that's important later, which she says something like, "Oh, good luck with the baby."
Yes. They do have a weird exchange where she's like, "No, I'm not pregnant. That's just a funny joke." Ha 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 ha.
Yeah,
like,
and then
really
you watch
moment.
the next episode and you're like, wait.
So
As a young child, I would not have picked up on that.
Let's describe the next episode, and then I will sort of clarify why the vibes of these episodes are so violent and bad, because there is a reason for it.
Violently bad.
And we can talk about the curse of Minky Momo.
We can talk about the curse of Minky Momo. So we watched episode 46, Memories of Fenarinarsa. We meet Momo again, and she's seemingly settled into living her life as a normal girl. She wakes up, gets dressed, has breakfast, goes to school, but she can't stop thinking about her broken pendant. Her space parents are worried about the mission she can no longer complete. How will Fenarinarsa return to Earth if Momo can't collect the final happy tear? But they're even more worried about how she's going to cope with being a normal girl. Momo ends up on the playground sitting alone with her thoughts until a group of kids playing baseball hits the ball over the fence near where she's sitting. Happy to give them a hand, she runs out into the street to grab the ball, and once again, the unimaginable happens. A truck full of toys careens around the corner and hits her, killing her instantly. Although living in two separate worlds, we see both sets of parents in grief until Momo's spirit takes to the sky and speaks to her space parents. Can something be done to right this wrong? 9 months later, Momo's earthly parents welcome a healthy baby girl. They decide to name her Momo, and just like that, Minky Momo is reborn. We end on a hopeful scene of what may be to come. Momo reuniting Earth and Fenarinarsa with all the people of both worlds celebrating together.
But also her Earth parents don't remember her? Because they keep, or...
No, they do.
Oh, they just name their baby after their dead baby.
Yes.
Totally healthy coping mechanism.
Just curious. I also wanted to point out that as you're watching this, there were commercial breaks that were so tonally different. Like they're like the, I don't know what they're called.
Oh, like the little animation that says that you're coming to the commercial.
Yeah. There's like one where she's like a slot machine, and they're like so happy, and then we cut back, and it's like
Funeral.
showing her grave.
Mm-hmm. They do show her grave. They also, this is just a random, but her favorite breakfast is waffles with honey and cafe au lait. She's 12 and she drinks coffee every morning.
Oh, after that I was like, how old is she?
She's
like
12.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We also get her transformation phrase in this, which is pipiruma purimpa, paparejo dorimpa. And that's how she transforms into an adult woman.
Yeah.
An 18-year-old, rather.
Mm-hmm.
They also definitely used copyrighted Disney character designs in the scene where the characters are just flying through the air. Uh-huh. There was Peter Pan, the namesake of Peter from the previous episode. But I'm going to clarify now. So no one was expecting, when they watched it in real time, that she was going to get hit by a car and died. But it is important, the detail that she got hit by a toy truck, because the reason that this happened was due to a dispute between, I think, Toei Animation and the company that was making the toys based on the series. Something about the direction the show was going in, or there was a disagreement. And so the animators decided to...
I think that
the
toys weren't selling as well as the toy company had hoped, so they were cutting off their funding for the show.
They got upset and they said, okay, well, we're gonna kill her. But then they immediately bring her back, and these are not the final episodes of the show. There's 17 more episodes. So I guess it worked or it didn't work, but either way, it made for a really upsetting afternoon for some Japanese children, I think.
Mm-hmm. And then... yeah, the next day also, which was the curse of Minky
Yes,
Momo.
so there's the curse of Minky Momo, which is that after this episode aired, and I think other times when the episode aired as well, there were like natural disasters that occurred in Japan.
With like huge death tolls.
Mm-hmm. So together with just the upsetting content of it, there's not a great history of this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the most credit I can kind of give this show is, like, maybe it opened the door for, like, other shows to explore darker themes.
Which is why we picked it. Yeah. Yay.
We had a plan.
Yes. There was a point to all this. Plus, for me, there was just some nostalgia because I did watch it as a kid, including getting killed by the truck. Mm-hmm. I might have stopped there. I don't remember. But let's have that bring us to... I don't think there's much more to say about Minky Momo. Mm-mm. Let's go to our last show that we watched.
Okay. The last show... So we watched the whole show of this. So it's Puella, Magi, Madoka, Magica. So the summary of the show is Madoka Kanami is having a roller coaster of a day. At school, the new transfer student Homura seems to immediately dislike her, and she doesn't know why. Then she and her friend are accidentally attacked by a monster. Luckily, a beautiful girl in a cool outfit comes to the rescue. A magical girl. Madoka also meets Kyubei, a strange cat-like creature who offers to grant her a wish in exchange for turning her into a magical girl so she can help fight against the witches that are attacking her hometown. The battle to beat the strongest witch of all, Valpurgisnacht, is coming, and Kyubei wants Madoka to make a deal. She has the potential to be the most powerful magical girl of all time and save the day. Madoka's not sure what to do, and Homura appears at every turn, trying to stop her from working with Kyubei. As the story progresses, the sinister details behind Kyubei's intentions slowly come to light. He's really an alien on a mission to replenish the rapidly decreasing energy in the universe, and it turns out the most efficient source of emotional energy is teen girls.
Which is almost not even the worst thing that they learn about the magical girl setup in this show.
No, I have a note about about that. What the worst thing.
Before we get into it, I again want to hear your initial reaction. Because I gave the instruction before we watched not to look up anything because of this show.
Yeah. I didn't look anything up. I did follow your instructions. I liked this show fine overall. I like the lore. I like the magical girls versus witches sort of setup. I thought the animation, especially when they're fighting the witches, is stellar. Like, really, really cool. I think it has the worst theme song, even worse than the last one. Wow. Yeah, it had some interesting, philosophical questions that it raised, which I thought was interesting. Something I certainly hadn't seen in any of the other magical girl shows that we'd seen. Yeah, it was fine. It seemed like it was, trying to be kind of Evangelion, but nothing is as good as Evangelion in my eyes. So it was kind of just
I do have a
trying,
note,
but I don't know. It was
that the witches
fine.
Are similar to angels.
They are in design.
Yes.
There's a lot of Christian iconography and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was well made. I can see why it is a standout amongst the series. It was very self-referential. I don't know if you want to get into the spoiler territory, but
I think you can't talk about this show without spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess those are my initial thoughts. I have some notes here and there when we get to them, but yeah, I thought it's good.
Yes, I'm glad you thought it was good. I think this is definitely for the magical girl genre, it's the equivalent of Evangelion in that it sort of takes every single trope and presents it to you and then flips it on its head. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in a really gritty way.
Mm-hmm. Very, very brutal at times.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to know where to stop because a lot of stuff happens in this show.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the lore part of it, in the way I like the lore of Cardcaptor Sakura, that the witches trap people in these labyrinths that are very cool. I thought that was really well animated and a cool concept. I like how the magic girls are sort of pitted against one another, to compete for resources, which was interesting and kind of kept me engaged up until the point where there's a little bit of a twist in the story. It had some interesting meta commentary on why these young girls are the chosen ones for these powers. That was pretty interesting to me. It did present a lot of interesting ideas, and I did appreciate that after having seen a lot of the stuff that sets up that that kind of allows the show to question all the shows that preceded it.
There's also a lot of they explore why do the girls want to do what they're doing as magical girls. Usually they're given a task to complete and they're you're the only one that can do it. Mm-hmm. But this sort of puts the onus on them of they have to decide to do it.
Right.
There has to be, they to form a contract with Kyubei, they make a wish and it grants the wish. And so is the wish that you want a noble one, or is it really selfish? Even if it's something that you're choosing for someone else, are you doing it for them or are you doing it for you? And dealing with the repercussions of that, which is such an interesting take on the responsibility of being a magical girl. It's almost all consequences from the moment that you choose to take on the mantle.
I thought suicide is a major theme in this show, and that's how the witches that's their goal, basically, is to like trap people who are susceptible to suicide.
People who are despondent.
Yes, and then kind of lead them to going through with it. I thought that was like an interesting thing, and certainly something you do not see in Western cinema or shows at all. And I was looking, I actually looked it up. The suicide rate in Japan is twice what it is in the U.S. So it is something that's on the forefront of their mind and a part of their culture that they have to grapple with more so than in America. So I thought that was interesting that it's starting to seep into their shows.
And it is also, Cube does explain that the witches also sort of gravitate towards anywhere where grief could be, not just because of being driven to suicide, but like hospitals where people are dying of illnesses and the scenes of car crashes. So just anywhere where there's a high emotion for a negative reason is what draws these witches to do their thing, sort of. But also, I guess we should note what the witches are, which is...
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
Yes, go for it.
So witches are magical girls. They're magical girls whose grief and darkness has overtaken them. They're sort of like the grown-up versions of magical girls, which is an interesting thing when you think about the genre being about girls, the freedom of adolescence. It's literally putting teen girls against their grown selves to fight out, for life. Like,
yeah, and it's kind of flipping the
survive.
Fantasy of teen girls fantasizing of being older, like, which is some of their magical powers in other shows. Like, okay, you get older and this is what happens. So, yeah, that was kind of an interesting take on it.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about, so Cube keeps talking about how Madoka is like the potential to be the strongest magical girl, and she is, just not in the way he thinks, too. The way she uses her wish. He presents to her the trolley problem, and then she just solves it on him. Where he's like, if you don't do this, a lot of people are going to die, She's like, all right, I'll do it. And sacrifices herself to save everyone else so no more witches are created.
I think it's also interesting in context of that. The show is named after Madoka, and Madoka makes that ultimate choice. But she is almost not even the main character. She, for most of the series, is the most boring person and no one understands why she could be this ultimate powerful magical girl. And it's because of the true, you could say, main character, Homura, who is stuck in a time loop, cursed for pretty much all eternity, because she wants to save Madoka from making the contract to become a magical girl, because she knows she will die. So she keeps repeating time, trying to stop that from happening. And each repeating instance of the story is giving more and more power to Madoka because the focus is on her. And so she's not actually that powerful. She's just a girl who was nice to Homura one time. Mm-hmm. And that is really what brings this cataclysmic apocalyptic event, because Homura can't let it go. And that's her tragic flaw, is that she's stuck. She'll become an even worse witch than Walpurgisnacht if she gives up and gives into despair. So the show is kind of her fault, and it's kind of about her, even though she's not the named main character, and you don't even like her for most of it because you don't understand. It's interesting to rewatch this knowing how it turns out, because it's just a tragic story.
Which, I mean, I did appreciate the maturity of it after watching the, what's the one from 82? I already forget the names. Minky Momo.
I think I thought this was going to be your favorite one because of how it's a subversion of a trope that I thought you would hate.
I would say yes. If I had to go back and watch any of them, this would be it. I just, I thought Cardcaptor Sakura was just more fun. The concept was more fun, and therefore I was more willing to watch it. This felt like more like
high art.
I was like, okay, yeah.
It is heavy.
Yeah, it's a bit heavier.
But with some hope at the end.
It does have some humor. I do have a couple of jokes that made me laugh.
What were your moments?
Too.
I did like the teacher. Her struggles with dating and bringing that into the lesson plan was very funny. That made me laugh almost every time. And then the other, it's not even a joke. I don't know if it was even intended to be a joke, but one of the friends, I forget what her name is, she's not one of the magic girls, and she's kind of she's trying to figure out like why these girls are like having these little secret conversations on the side, and she like suspects them of being lesbians and says as much. And,
and she's so upset that she's left out.
Yeah.
She's just mad that she's out of the loop if they're in love.
Exactly. I thought that was funny.
This isn't meant as a joke either, but at one point, Kyubey says emotion is a mental disorder. And I just wrote, ain't that the truth?
Kyubey is so interesting because he's such a stereotypical at the beginning. He's like Karo from Cardcaptor, like a weird creature, kind of cute, kind of funny. But as it goes on, he's so sinister.
Yes.
And he also doesn't understand human emotions, so he just says the cruelest things, like out of pocket constantly, like upsetting stuff. But he still looks so cute and has that cute voice.
Yes.
It's such a weird... It's one of the best tropes versions, I think, because you don't know he's important until it's too late.
Yeah.
In a funny way.
Overall, I liked it, and the twist, I'm glad I didn't spoil it for myself, because it did work for me.
There are movie adaptations of the series where they sort of compress it into, I think, 3 movies and change a couple of things. So if you ever feel like you would want to revisit it, I recommend that, because it really is so much more interesting to watch it once you know, because of just Homer's arc, and the things that she says are really heavily hinting towards the truth of the series, but you don't know that when you're watching it. And you're like, what's with this girl? And I don't know. It's just a good show.
Yeah, if I do get the urge to watch it again, I'll definitely do the movie route. I just like movies. Prefer them more anyways, but yeah, like sort of like Evangelion does the same thing.
Oh yeah, they did. But that is our introduction to the magical girl genre.
Yeah, and I'll put links to all of those things that we discussed in this episode in the show notes. Do you want to close on a little bit of a bit, or do you have anything else to say? We almost forgot.
Alex has prepared a bit for us.
So, after diving in headfirst into the magical girl genre, I took it upon myself, no one asked me to do this, to write my own magical girl show, just from borrowing from the tropes I've gathered with this sampling of shows you've presented to me. So my show is called Kage o Fukurikite Odore, which roughly translates to shake off the shadow and dance.
Wow.
So
some idols in here.
Mm-hmm. It's 4 spirited 14-year-old girls, Mitsu, Ren, Yuki, and Sora, are practicing their J-pop dance routine in preparation for the annual provincial Super Youth Pop Extravaglamza competition.
Extravaglamza is excellent.
Thank you. Ren has a secret weapon up her sleeve, a retro synthesizer she found at her grandfather's antique shop, which she believes belonged to the local legendary pop band Crush. During their practice, Mitsu spills her strawberry seaweed soda on the keyboard, causing it to short circuit and explode, knocking them all unconscious and killing power in a mile radius.
You said killing and I was afraid because of Minky Momo.
When they awake, they discover a magical spirit is in the room who introduces himself as Yoshi, a former member of Crush. He warns the girls of a darkness he calls the Dregs, who are shape-shifting beings that prey on living beings' thoughts, that has spread across the universe. It has already taken Clubland, the magical pop dimension, and now, by unknowingly opening the portal, they've let the Dregs into our world. Yoshi gives them 4 magic microphones, which belong to powerful pop witches in Clubland that give them supernatural powers. Before passing, Yoshi leaves behind his ferret thing, that's what my note says, Koro, which will help guide them. It's a magical ferret thing with wings.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now the girls must balance saving the world with their already hectic teenage lives and becoming the next hit pop sensation.
He hit every trope.
Yeah.
He did it.
Thank you. That was all
You had to have a Sora.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and I have a twist here. The head of the pop competition has been taken over by the Dreg Queen.
That's giving Queen Barrel. Mm-hmm. I do want to clarify. So Yoshi from Crush, he died? He dies?
I don't know.
You said he does pass.
Unclear.
He passes.
But he also was a spirit when he came out of the synthesizer.
Yeah, is he moving on or is he passing to a new dimension?
Well, you just have to watch to find out.
Is he astral projecting? I would watch this show.
Does the show have a soundtrack? Do they actually perform pop songs?
Oh, yeah, good question.
Yes, that's part of the season 1 arc. They have to compete in the competition.
While they're also fighting the dregs.
Yes.
Does Crush have an exclamation point?
Yes, sure.
It's very important to me that it has an exclamation
I
point.
think there's good opportunities for marketing this with the music. You could have concerts.
You know how they have those microphones that aren't attached to anything?
Yeah. That like just echo your voice loudly. Yeah.
But there's buttons on it that play like MIDI versions of all the songs from the show.
Yeah.
And you could have other famous like real J-pop bands come in and play like the competitors of the band, like to do like one-off stuff to release new tracks.
Sounds like
Like
a real
Utada.
Utada Hikaru?
Yeah.
She could be the queen.
Oh, she could
She'd be the queen.
The drag queen.
The drag queen.
Yeah.
I
She'll
like
sing
this.
simple and clean.
They might have some
It's her song.
copyright. Okay. So when will this be going into production?
It started production in 1997. It will be it will be releasing anytime next year on Crunchyroll.
Can't wait.
So that's Kage o Furikite Odore, Shake Off the Shadow and Dance.
Did you come up with what you wanted it to be and then back translate it?
I had to go back and forth quite a bit with translators to get it down to something that wasn't like a paragraph long. But yeah, that's the sentiment I wanted to be conveyed, and I think I got there.
You did. Wow. I'm really impressed.
Thank you. I wish I had a theme song to play for you.
Next year.
Well, you have time to make one.
Yeah. But, okay, so AniMay 2025, the premiere of the theme song of Shake Off the Shadows and Dance.
Oh boy, I hope AI music generators can
Yeah, don't
step
fail
up in the
me
next
now.
year. Yeah. All right, we'll see you next time between the shelves.